Hello and welcome back to the Trick Play Podcast. I'm Simon Chiskovsky, and shortly we will be breaking down all the sports-related news, rumors, and drama that you will want to hear about. Although the main difference is that sadly this week won't be a we, as Caleb Peterson is sick and will not be joining me, so we will be moving on in his honor this week. We will be trucking through, holding down the ship, and seeing what we can get done, and So quick PSA for any new viewers. This week is not a general idea of what Trick Play is. I'd recommend going back and watching some previous episodes so you can kind of get to see what the normal podcast looks like. This will be a very abnormal special episode, Simon's solo episode. We're going to have some fun, but I fully recommend you go back and watch some of our old stuff. I just wanted to start off with that. We'll get right into it, and thanks for watching. Stick around. All right, so we're going to be starting off with something that I really want to talk about. That's the difference this week. We're not starting off with the biggest story. We're starting with a shorter one that I really want to speak on a little bit, in that Orioles play-by-play broadcaster Kevin Brown was removed from broadcast after he made a reference to Baltimore's lack of success against the Tampa Bay Rays at Tropicana Field in previous years. I read that straight off the ESPN article. I'm sure a lot of people have already heard about this. It's been everywhere, and there's been a lot of outrage about it, rightfully, because all he really talked, if you watch the clip, all he really talked about was the fact that Baltimore had not won in Tampa Bay hadn't really won a series in Tampa Bay since 2017. He brought up that fact, and there was a graphic to go along with it. It was a graphic that showed the last time they won, the last pitcher, I think, that won the game for them, yada, yada, yada. And he got canned for it. And he got canned for bringing up a bad record about his team. And I think this obviously is a very, very large overreaction from the Baltimore Orioles team as a whole, especially considering the fact that there was a graphic made, which means that it wasn't just an on-the-spot comment made by Kevin Brown. It was something that was previously planned by the entire broadcast team, and they went through with it. There was multiple people involved in this, whatever. I don't think it's a mess-up, personally. I think that there's... I can say that in jobs that I've worked before, and I will not name teams, names, companies, whatever, I can say that there is definitely something about wanting to stay positive about the team you're calling for. There is definitely something there, and that is definitely important, especially, but I do not think that what he was saying was negative. I don't think that it was a bad thing. I think that what he did and how he said it he did it very, very well. I don't think many people could have done. The Orioles, as a whole, in the last 10 years, have not been a very successful franchise. So I feel like, unless they're just trying to hide the fact that they haven't been successful past the last, 2 years, it's not an appropriate way of handling things. And I think that is not a controversial statement from me. I think that is this is not a good sign for broadcasting if broadcasters cannot talk about facts. As our job as commentators is to give you, the watcher, the facts that you need to properly understand and get to know the players and get to know the team. He spoke on the Orioles' record against the Tampa Bay Rays and how they had a lack of success in previous years, but that they had plenty of success in this season. Or I believe the exact thing in this article that I'm reading. I did watch the video, but I want to make sure that I stick to exactly what he said. Brown noted that the Orioles had won as many games at Tropicana Field in 2023 as they had in the past 3 seasons combined, and that it was accompanied by a graphic that showed the Orioles' struggles that obviously was with his commentary. The only thing that he was involved in was the commentary side. He did not make that graphic. Somebody else had made that graphic. I bet a team of people made that graphic. That's the thing that is so annoying about this, I think, to so many people, is just the fact that he got canned for something that was, frankly, a lot of people's mistake. I don't think it was a mistake either. I don't think anybody considers it a mistake. He was talking about something that he said nothing that wasn't true. It's not like he went up and just went, Baltimore sucks in Tampa Bay. No, he went up and brought up stats that basically just said, yeah, we've struggled in Tampa Bay in the past, but this year we're doing really well. He made sure to highlight the fact that Baltimore is having a lot more success this season that they didn't have previously in this stadium. He did a good job doing that. From all the clips that I've seen, he is a hell of an announcer, and he should, or commentator, announcer, whatever you want to call it. He should not have been taken down for this, and I'm sure they will fix the issue after all the public outrage that there has been, and rightfully so. He should not have been taken off the broadcast for that. That is a very stupid reason to do that. And yeah, I just wanted to open up the podcast by doing that because it's something that means at least something to me, considering I work in the industry, and I just wanted to throw that out there from my perspective a little bit. We'll get into the more fun stuff now. I wanted to start off with that. We'll move on now. Okay, now we're getting into the fun stuff. We are going to move on to the NHL. I wanted to start off with that little MLB segment. We might go back to the MLB later, but we're going to move into the NHL for now. And we're going to talk about the Erik Karlsson trade. Erik Karlsson, Norris winning defenseman, won it last season after a comeback year, is going to be moving from the San Jose Sharks to the Pittsburgh Penguins in the most confusing trade ever seen to man, or ever known to man. And I'm going to try and break it down. It's a very interesting trade that I think I've already seen a lot of opinions on online. Obviously, it's been a couple days since it happened. It has been officially 2. I'm recording this on August the 8th. And it's a trade. It's a trade. Pittsburgh is getting what they want. They're getting Erik Karlsson, and they somehow, the craziest thing about this entire trade to me is that how they ended up with more cap space after this. They picked up one of the biggest contracts in the NHL and came up with more cap space, which is wild. And all they really lost was obviously they lost a lot of players. We can go into that all we want. Casey DeSmith, I believe. Yeah, Mikael Granlund. I believe it's Mikael. He's European. I think it's Mikael. And I believe both of them were on the Pens beforehand. And obviously a first and a second. That's a lot. That's a lot to lose. But you are getting a Norris winning defenseman, right? I think when me and Caleb talked about this in previous weeks, I think that we set the line at about 2 first-round picks, and the Penguins didn't have to give that up. A first and a second sucks, don't get me wrong, but you got to realize that first is also top 10 protected. So let's say the Pens suck, which I wouldn't say high chance of it happening, but there is a chance. They have a lot of aging stars. There is a chance they suck. At least they have that protection, and they didn't, in my opinion, other than the picks, give up that much. I think that this is a one trade for the Pens, considering they are trying to get back into contention and they are trying to build around their aging core. This is they won this trade easily. I think San Jose also got what they wanted. They got it first. They got some players. They're going to be all right too. I think they just wanted to get the cap space out of the way. Montreal got they got some people. They got a second-round pick. I don't really understand why Montreal was even involved in this. I understand it needed to be it probably needed to be a 3-team trade. I don't know why Montreal took it, really. I don't see why it makes sense for them. It's the only teams here that, like, I don't know. Obviously, they helped just by retaining salary cap for example, for Petrie and for all that. But I think I don't understand what they really had to. There's not a lot there for Montreal. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm trying to read into it, and I just don't get it. I don't get why Montreal was involved in the trade or wanted to be involved. They got a second-round pick. Sure, they got all that just for retaining cap, basically, and taking a couple, core players. But I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. That's what I'm trying to say. For Montreal, I think this is a trade that makes the least amount of sense. I think that the Pens obviously will get better. They did, I am reading now, they did lose Granlund, so I was right on that. But the Sportsnet article is being mean towards Granlund, but I think that losing Granlund will probably hurt the team a little, not a lot, and then bringing in a star like Erik Karlsson, veteran guy, can slide him right in next to Letang and have probably one of the most dominant D pairings in the entire league. I think they'll be just fine. They'll. I wouldn't expect. I wouldn't expect like 2017 Pens, but I think they'll be okay. I think they'll be a playoff team. I think they'll probably be a 6, 7, 8 seed, and I would be very surprised to see them go any higher. But I mean, who knows? They've got a lot of guys. They've got a lot of stars. Who knows? Turn back the clock. This would have been an insane team in 2017. Imagine this team in 2017, right? That's the thing. That's the biggest thing. But you have to realize Malkin is 37, Letang is 36, Crosby is 36. Is 36. I know how to read. And Karlsson is 33 and has also dealt with a lot of injuries, including a lot of serious injuries. And I mean, we'll just have to see what happens, really. Like, obviously, Crosby is still a very elite scorer when he needs to be, and he's still a very elite player, same with Malkin. Letang is still a serviceable defenseman. I think it's just whether... I don't know how long they have to make this core work. I think that... I mean, I just don't know. Like, it's really interesting. This is going to be an interesting team to watch next year for like 1,000 different reasons. I think that the funny thing is I think they could be good. Like I said, 6, 7, 8 seed, they could maybe there's enough playoff what's the word? Playoff enough guys who have been in the playoffs to probably pull something out of their butts and maybe make it to the second round out of the 6, 7, 8 seed, maybe beat a younger team, you know what I mean? Like I could see them being capable of surprising someone this season. So, yeah, I think that's all I got to say on it, honestly. I could go right into the nitty-gritty and talk about all the big details, like how... I don't even know. How the hell did Pittsburgh get a third-round pick as well? That's the crazy thing. Like, Pittsburgh won this trade by a mile, in my opinion. I think that the Sharks... Yeah, they still got a lot. Like, that's a lot. Getting Granlund, a first-round pick... Ruda and Mike Hoffman. That's not bad by any means. And still definitely a win. But I don't know. I think at this point they just need to get rid of Karlsson. I think they'd been trying to get rid of him for a bit and they kind of ran out of choices, if that makes sense. Obviously Pittsburgh's been in the rumor wire for a while. I'd have to go back. You might have to go back and watch the segment me and Caleb did on Erik Karlsson, the trade rumors, and why we thought that. Obviously, I know that Caleb was not a fan of him going to the Penguins. I do remember that, so I will make that argument for him, as he is not here. But I remember him saying that he just thought it was an old team. It wouldn't work. He was saying that it wouldn't work, and I kind of agree with him. I don't think this isn't a Stanley Cup winning team, obviously. I will never, ever try and make that argument. Nobody would. But there is enough. There is enough. You know what I mean? There's enough to be a playoff team. I'm sure there are people out there arguing that this wouldn't be a playoff team. It will be. It probably will be. The East is strong, but it probably will be. It'll be a fun team. I'm actually excited. I think that we haven't gotten to see Erik Karlsson in the playoffs for a long time. I was kind of hoping that he'd go to, like, a more serious playoff team. Meaning, like, I think Hurricanes were in the mix at some point. That would have been very cool. Teaming up with Brent Burns again. I think just the other options would have probably been better. But I'm not going to complain. This is going to be a very fun team. This is kind of a bad example, but in my head I'm thinking of when Jarome Iginla went to... the Pens and that team up, getting to see Iginla and Crosby on a line together again for the first time since the 2010 Olympics. Just that type of thing. That's what I think of when I think of this move. I'm thinking of the boys are back together. It's just a fun team up for anybody who watched hockey in the 2010s and got to see the dominance that was Erik Karlsson, Crosby, Malkin, that entire Pens team, and just Erik Karlsson carrying the Ottawa Senators in, I believe, 2017 to then they made conference. Yeah, conference. That's my bad. They made it to the conference anyway. Either way, it's going to be a fun team. This is a team that makes childhood Simon very happy. So I will watch, I will enjoy, and I hope they do well. As much as I don't necessarily want to see the Pens win another cup, and they won't. That's a Simon prediction. If the Pens win the cup, I will be a sad boy. But hopefully they don't. Hopefully they make it to the second round. Hopefully we see a bit of playoff Erik Karlsson again, because I think we all missed that. That's something that I can definitely say we all missed. All right, we are going to be taking a pit stop in the NBA and talking about a little list I just found, because we are in the dry part of the off season of the NHL, NBA, NFL. Right now, all we got is baseball. Not a lot's happening in baseball. Davis Snyder is going off for the Blue Jays, and we might talk about that. We'll see how I feel in a bit. But for now, we're going to start off with talking about a ranking of the NBA's best superstar duos going into this next season. Obviously, a lot of them have been around for a while. A lot of them have had a lot of success, and a lot of them haven't. We've seen in the last couple of years the big stars all teaming up doesn't work very well. That's been the big narrative of the last couple seasons. Obviously, this season we saw Jokic and Murray, two homegrown talent in Denver, win a championship. The year before, we saw Milwaukee and Giannis win a championship. Obviously, you still need the big guy, but it's more important to have a lot of depth. Not saying that Murray is just depth. He is still absolutely a stud. But it is important to have a lot of depth and have a very overall sound team, more than it is to just have a bunch of guys who have the potential to be on the NBA 2K cover. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, obviously, I thought about making my own list and comparing it, but I think we'll just get into it, and we'll talk about why I disagree or agree or disagree with what they have going on here. But, yeah, let's get right into it. Obviously, they've got some honorable mentions. We'll start off with them. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics. Joel Embiid and James Harden, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, and so they only give 3. I don't disagree with any of them. I don't think, looking at number 5 right now, I don't disagree with any of them. I think that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown has the potential to really move up that list. I think they've been really, really strong overall, and obviously they've had some success in the playoffs, making it, I believe, as far as the conference. Oh, no, they made the finals. Why am I thinking they didn't make the finals? I'm being dumb. Whatever. They have done a great job in the 6 years they've had together. Obviously, they're more homegrown than a lot of names on this list, and they've been both on the Celtics for their entire careers. Definitely have the potential to move up this list. They will probably not stay in this number 8 spot for very long. I think that they can probably jump a couple names in here, including the next one that I don't think will... that's interesting. Joel Embiid and James Harden of the Philly 76ers. Obviously, at number 7 here, they have all the potential in the world. They have the potential to be the number 1 on this. These are 2 names that are absolutely talented. We just haven't seen them work very well together. They, for whatever reason, they just haven't really been... They haven't been it. Philly has been looking for that it thing for, the last decade, and they just haven't been able to find it. And clearly, Joel Embiid, James Harden... probably isn't it. It sounds like there's been rumors all over the map about Joel Embiid going somewhere, James Harden going somewhere. We'll have to see what happens with that. But I think that it's where this isn't going to stick around for very long. I think that saying that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum will probably leapfrog them when they eventually break up is very, very much going to happen. I think that I'd honestly put Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown above Joel Embiid and James Harden just for the fact that only one of those 2 duos are going to be together in a year. So, yeah, we can move on to the next one. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. This is a disappointing one to me. I am really disappointed that this is number 6, despite being a Lakers fan, obviously. I'm wearing a jersey this week because Caleb's not here to carry that fire of wearing jerseys on the podcast. Anyway, despite being a Lakers fan, I have to say it's a little disappointing. I think when they teamed up in LA for the Clippers, I think everybody thought they'd be a very, very strong team, and obviously they have been at times, but they just haven't had that success that I think everyone is hoping they've had. We've heard a ton of excuses, like how the bubble stopped them from winning. I believe Pat Bev said that. There's been a lot of things that have been said and just not a lot of action. Obviously, both have been hurt at different times. Kawhi has obviously sat out at different times, and you can have your own opinion on that. I won't give mine here. I think that overall, that's just the one big thing about this duo. They are as dangerous as anybody else. They have as much talent as anyone else. There are times when Paul George looks like the best scorer in the NBA in certain games. He can be that guy. So can Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is one of the best, if not the best, defender in the NBA right now. Right? Like, that remains the same. It's just that they just haven't been able to put it together yet. And I have to say, I don't know if they will be able to put it together. I believe this will be their last season together. I think their contract is running out after this season. So, who knows what happens after that. I kind of hope they find a bit more success. I think that they're a really fun team when they are, working. But we can move on to number 5, Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving of the Dallas Mavericks. This one is really interesting to me. Obviously, me and Caleb talked about this on one of the previous podcasts. I can't remember which one right now, so you might have to go back and check that out, just saying. And we talked a little... I believe we just talked about where Kyrie would probably end up. I think that is what we were talking about. Or not where... what we expect from him. That's what I was trying to say. And I don't think that either of us had super high expectations. I love Doncic as a player. I think that when you are able to be that skilled and just be able to score from anywhere on the floor, have that sort of playmaking ability, I think you have all the talent in the world and have all the ability to win in this league. I just have a hard time... believing in teams that have 2 dominant ball carriers, and I remember saying that in that episode too. So, I think my expectations for this duo going into the next season, they will definitely be a playoff team in the West. I think that we'll have to see what happens. We'll have to see if any more Kyrie drama. Obviously, everybody knows about all that stuff that has gone down. Let's hope that they can both stay healthy, obviously. We'll have to see what happens with that. Obviously, I think they just haven't been tested. We haven't seen a lot of them. And Dallas did get worse after Kyrie came in, but that could just be like mid-season trade jitters. Who knows? We'll have to see. We can move on to number 4 with... they have like a lot of... LeBron James and Anthony Davis. This one is interesting to me. Obviously, Lakers fan, but I will say I'm not the biggest fan of LeBron James. As a Lakers fan, as far as Lakers fans go, I will say that I'm definitely on the other side of the fence when it comes to liking this duo. I don't hate it. I feel like I'm more than aware that I cannot complain about having 2 superstars for 5 years. That is not fair to complain about, because there are a lot of franchises in the NBA that would die for that, right? But I don't know. It worked in 2020. Obviously, we won a championship. More than happy about even winning one. That was awesome to watch. I think that at this point, it just won't work. I think that they probably need to try something new. I think obviously Anthony Davis needs to stay healthy. That is the biggest number one thing that needs to happen. And as long as that happens, who knows? Like, that's the thing. If this team can stay healthy, they can win. The issue is that Anthony Davis just can't stay healthy. He just can't. And obviously the Lakers just gave him a very, very big, new, fancy extension. So that means that he'll be sticking around long after LeBron's gone, which is good for the Lakers and good for us. I just hope that he can stay healthy. I just hope that he can stay... I just want him to... I want to see this team win again. This was a really, really fun team in the 2020 season, because they stayed healthy and because we had a lot of depth and we had a lot of guys who just wanted to win. We don't have that anymore. We don't have that really. We have it's just a different squad, We'll have to see if they can turn. Well, I don't know. I don't know what to expect this season. I'm kind of just dribbling all over the place. I'm trying to come up with something that I can say. I don't disagree with them being at 4. But even them being at 4 feels like a stretch. I feel like they should be lower, strangely, which is weird. Which is very weird. So, take that as you will. We can move on. Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. I think this should be higher. I think this should be a lot higher. I actually would say that this, after last season, I would have a hard time not saying that this is number 1. I think that's a fair statement. I think that... Murray has solidified himself as a star in this league. I think that if you don't think that, I don't know what else he has to do. Because this is a duo that have proven they can win. They have proven they can win. There's a lot of depth around them, obviously, which helped them in this season. But they are a great duo. They work. They work. And looking at who they have at number 2 and number 1, I think if I were to make my own list, I would have them probably number 2 overall talent-wise. But on overall success, you have to put them at number 1. You have to put them at number 1. There is no duo on this list that is new enough, other than like the newest duo on this list is Doncic and Kyrie Irving, and they don't have the talent. I feel weird saying that, but they just don't. They haven't shown it. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. I'm making this work. We're working here. Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Denver. They have them at 3. I'd have them at 2. You could make an argument for 1. We'll move on. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Drew Holiday, Milwaukee Bucks. I knew I said Minnesota. I'm still in hockey mode. Number 2. I like it. I like that I like that they should be 3 though. I think that I have. I don't know. Maybe I don't value Drew Holiday as much as I should. Maybe that's why. I don't know. I don't think Drew Holiday necessarily carries his weight as much as a player like Murray would. Maybe I'm wrong. You'd have to look at the stats and prove me wrong there. You can yell at me in the comments if you want. Go ahead. Anyway, not bad. Terrific. They are number 3. Definitely about, they are definitely top 3. They are definitely top 3 solely because of Giannis. That helps. When you have a player like Giannis, that helps. We can move on because I think I have more to say about this number 1 pick. Kevin Durant and Devin Booker on the Phoenix Suns. When this trade happened, when the Kevin Durant trade happened, I thought the league was over. Like, they were going to win everything. It was going to be over. And then they only played 19 games together. We just didn't see enough last season. It's the same issue as Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, with the main difference that this team is just that much more nuts. It's just that much more nuts. This is a stupid team. This is a stupid talented team with all the talent in the world. They could win next season. If they stay healthy and if they work well together, they will win next season. And there's nothing that can stop them. I think that they deserve the number 1 spot. You could make the argument to me this season with Jokic and Murray. I think you could make the argument that you could put them in front of them as best duo, considering that just won. I think that's recency bias as much as it's there. I think it is deserved. I think they can. You can definitely make the argument for number 1. I think that this is also one that makes sense. Durant and Booker is a duo that shouldn't exist. That is an insane team up. And they added Bradley Beal. I was trying to put that name together. That is a 3-team trio, or the 3-player trio that it has all. They can take over the league. Nobody is stopping that. Nobody is stopping that offense. Nobody in the league can stop that offense if they play well together. If they don't get hurt, if they play well together, nobody's stopping that. That's that. We'll have to see what happens next season, and yeah. All right, we'll move on to the next one, and we're actually going to slide back over to the MLB with a much more fun topic, which is Davis Snyder. I think, personally, I'm a Blue Jays fan. So I figured doing a solo episode is a pretty good excuse to talk about this absolute legend that came out of nowhere and is hitting nothing but dingers. He is currently averaging. 1 second, I'm finding the stat line again. Give me a second. There it is. 529, 579, 882. Absolutely unheard of in his first 3 games. Broke a record for most hits in the first 2 games. He hit 2 home runs in 3 games. And his first 3 games were legendary. 4th game, not so much. Wasn't pretty. But that doesn't matter. 4th game, grain of salt. Came up against a bad pitcher, or a really good pitcher in, I don't remember who he faced in Cleveland. But it was a Cleveland pitcher. Forget his name. Anyway, not important. We're not talking about him. We're talking about Davis Snyder because he is an absolute. He looked incredible. I thought The biggest thing that was incredibly shocking to me is he's a small guy. He's a second baseman, naturally, and he can absolutely send it. He can hit it harder than anybody on the Blue Jays right now, probably, other than like, you know what, that's exaggeration, but you know what I mean. He is probably the best prospect the Blue Jays have called up in a very long time, and the thing is, people are already comparing him to Ellie De La Cruz. De La Cruz. Said it right the second time. Anyway, there's already been comparisons to that. I think it's hard to make that comparison already, considering how much of a physically just incredible player De La Cruz is, because he's also an athlete. He is an absolute athlete. So I think making that comparison might not be fair yet. I think we need to give Snyder a little bit longer to see, like, kind of even out his numbers. Obviously, he won't stay at 500. That would be pretty insane. He won't stay there. His from what I'm reading, I'll just read off a couple stats because that's what I like to do. He has the stats to back it up though. He has the like his max exit velocity is 107.5 in the 30th percentile among MLB hitters. Not bad, especially for a guy who was drafted in the 28th round. Not really expected to be an MLB player. Like, he got called up because he was doing well for the Buffalo Bisons, where his max exit velocity was 109.7, which is very impressive. Very impressive. Would have ranked 184th among 267 qualified MLB hitters. Impressive as hell, especially for a minor league player. And they pretty much just break him down with the stats here, and I'll go through it a little bit. Running stats, we haven't seen a lot of that from him at the MLB level. We haven't really had to. He's not necessarily... he doesn't look that quick. He's never stolen more than 17 bases in a minor league season. I don't think we need him to be a base stealer. We already have our guys who can do that, obviously. We need a good second baseman. That's something that Blue Jays have sort of been missing. Last season, Espinal was really strong for us, but I don't think anybody would be complaining if we saw Snyder slide in and steal that spot from, I believe Biggio's been the main guy this season. You might have to correct me on the wrong. Sliding into that second baseman spot. But from a defensive standpoint, he's fine. Like, from what I'm reading here, they aren't burners and lacks a cannon arm. But he'll be fine. Like, he's a fine defender. That's the thing. He's a decent enough defender, and that's all you need from him. Obviously, his contact is the biggest thing that I think a lot of people have noticed. Obviously, when you bat 500 through your first 4 games in the MLB, I think a lot of people are going to be talking about your contact hitting ability. And even just watching him, you can tell that he is a very, very smart player. You can tell that he has a very good eye for the baseball, and he's very, very good at knowing. He picks his pitches very well. He picks where he swings. He picks his swings. Maybe that's the better way to put that. I think... I fully think that he has all the potential in the world. I think it's really cool. I love when prospects in any sport like this just randomly pop up and just instantly start kicking ass. It's probably one of the most fun things to see in any sport. I feel like that is... I can't be alone in saying that. And I know the bias as a Blue Jays fan. I should throw on my hat, throw on the jersey. At this point, I should just I'm going all nuts for him. But I think he deserves it. When you break a record for the most hits or whatever exactly the record was in the first 3 games, a record that hasn't been touched since 1930, despite all the incredible rookies that have gone through the MLB, he started that strong, and that is so impressive to me. So I think it's great. I think he'll probably be up with the Blue Jays for the rest of the season as long as he doesn't, suck for the rest of the time. Maybe he just had like a 4-game prime. That'd be pretty funny, I guess. Not for me, but it'd be funny for you. And, who knows? I think that, I think he definitely has the potential to stay up at the MLB level. I think he's already shown that. When you hit 2 home runs in 3 games, you show that. You show that ability. And he has. I think that he can stay up. He'll definitely, he will have to prove himself. he will have to continually prove himself. That is the thing that is popping up. Like, I'm trying to read it at the same time. I should have read through it I'm looking back and forth. But the thing that they constantly are trying to hit is that he will have to keep proving himself to stay up, which is true. He will have to do that. And I think we'll have to see how he succeeds with that to really put a... It's hard to judge a player off of 4 games. I don't know if the Blue Jays play today. I will quickly check that. So who knows? Maybe today we'll get a little bit more of a glimpse at how good he does. They do. This episode will not be out before then, so maybe, who knows, maybe he'll hit another one. Maybe he won't. Maybe he'll go 0 for 4. Who knows? Who knows what'll happen? But we'll see. We'll see. All right, I'm going to end it there. Thank you so much for watching. This has been a much shorter episode, so I apologize for that. But I think the way that I was looking at this episode was a lot more, let's get it done, not let's stick around for an hour 30. I think this week is going to be a filler episode. That's what I'm going to call it. This is a filler TV episode. This is just there. It's just there. You know what I mean? We needed to fill the week's episodes lot. This is going to do it. Next week, we will be back. We will be covering the NFL 100. We will be way behind on that. Obviously, it'll be out for a week by then. But that's all right. I'm excited to break it down. I know Caleb is excited to break it down. So you will be getting that next week, and you will probably... I think it'll be a great episode. Obviously, last week I can also say that I was sick. I did it sick, and I don't think it necessarily turned out the best because of that. And... So we're kind of getting back-to-back kind of sleeper filler episodes. We're going to call them filler episodes. So we'll be getting back to the quality that you expect next week. So again, I apologize. Thanks so much for watching. I seriously, if you stuck around this long and had to listen to only my voice for about 40 minutes, now you know what my life's like. I thank you. That's all I'm trying to say. Thank you so much. And make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter. We now have a Twitter. As of last week, we have a Twitter. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all of them. We're everywhere. You look for us, you'll find us. And where else? Where else are we? I'm trying to think. Make sure to watch our shorts. They're on TikTok, YouTube Shorts. We post them to both. I think that's all. I have to say. Watch next week. Watch last week's. Both are probably going to be better than this week. I'm throwing that out there. This was the Simon solo episode. Let's hope that it doesn't happen too much. Next time it happens, I might try and bring on some guests. We'll see. This week it was a little bit... I decided to just go solo with it. If this ever happens again, I feel like we could try and do a guest thing. We'll see. Guest host. Sadly, you just had to deal with me this week. I hope that's not too bad. Thanks again for watching. See ya.